Let me tell you a story that starts the way a lot of trouble does with a threat in a Bentley. Move your damn car or I'll move it. Those words slipped out before I could stop myself, and there I was, standing toe-to-toe with the HOA president, her $300,000 car blocking my barn doors like some kind of monument to entitlement. Inside that barn, my newborn calf was struggling for its life, bawling so weak it barely sounded like a cry. I had the emergency vet on speaker, my voice cracking as I begged them to hurry. And you know what she did? She stood there in her sunglasses, arms folded, that little smirk spreading across her face like my panic was the best show she'd seen all week. It was summer hot enough for the smell of cut hay to stick to your skin, and the only thing louder than the calf's cries was the rumble of my old John Deere still idling beside her luxury car. 6 months, that's how long she'd been at this. Fake fines, $500 here, $1,000 there, piling up because I wouldn't sell my ranch to her developer friends. She knew my wife's cancer had cleaned us out. I guess she figured a grieving widower with calloused hands wouldn't dare lay a scratch on her precious toy. Lady, she couldn't have been more wrong. But let's hit pause for a second. My name's Jake Morrison, and this land's been in my family since 1987, 40 acres of earth where the mornings smell like a mix of fresh hay and diesel, courtesy of my granddad's old tractor. He built our barn himself. Dad expanded it, and I always thought I'd hand it down to my daughter Emma. That was before cancer bills left us with nothing but memories and debts. My wife Sarah fought hard. 18 months of specialists' experimental treatments, hope, rationed out in doses that cost more than I'll ever make in a year. When she passed, I swear the antiseptic smell from the hospital followed me home, clinging to my clothes, stinging my eyes long after the tears stopped. Emma, she's tougher than any adult I know. Up at 5, helping feed the cattle before school, never complains when dinner's just beans and rice again. Never says a word about her friends with their new phones while she patches her jeans for the 3rd time. That's real strength. But all that changed the day Vivian Blackstone moved in next door. Vivian paid $2.3 million for what she calls her farmhouse mansion. More square footage than my entire operation kitchen, probably cost more than I'll see in 5 years. She wanted the charm of country life, but not the reality, kind of like ordering a steak and sending it back because you saw a cow in the parking lot. First time we met, she's at my fence line, heels so expensive I swear my feed budget blushed. Hair, perfect nose, wrinkled like I'd personally dragged down her property values. You're the neighbor with all the noise, she says, not even a hi, just straight to business. Within a week, she's president of the HOA. 2 weeks, I get my first citation, agricultural noise violation. My rooster Charlie had been greeting the sun every morning for years before Princess Vivian rolled in. Apparently, livestock never got her memo about beauty sleep. $500 fine. Never mind that county ordinance protects agricultural operations that predate residential development. Vivian didn't care about laws. She cared about control. Citations multiplied like rabbits. Hay bales visible from the road, feed truck in my driveway, property line disputes, you name it. Each fine steeper than the last. My options: pay up, lawyer up, or shut up. With Sarah's medical debt weighing us down, fighting seemed impossible. Then came the parking harassment. Every morning she'd do her little inspection, clipboard in hand, eyes on everything I owned. Then she'd park that Bentley just close enough to my barn to make moving equipment a nightmare. But 3 weeks ago she crossed a line. That morning, a breech birth. Calf-stuck mother crying, blood on my hands as I fought for both lives. I called the vet, Doc Martinez, and ran out to wait. That's when I found her Bentley parked sideways across my barn doors, blocking everything. She watched from her kitchen window, coffee in hand. "Move your car! Animals are dying," I yelled. She just smiled and walked outside, slow as could be. Maybe you should have thought about that before violating HOA standards, farm boy. The calf died. The mother barely made it. And that's when I realized Vivian wasn't just entitled. She was the kind of person who feeds off other people's pain. After losing that calf, something snapped inside me. Sarah used to say my temper was a slow burn, harmless until it reached the dynamite. That day, Vivian lit the fuse. Within 48 hours, 3 more citations appeared on my mailbox like legal ransom notes. One for excessive agricultural odors, as if cow manure on a cattle ranch was suddenly a crisis. One for unauthorized commercial vehicle storage, my grain truck parked right where it always been. and one for unsightly equipment storage, my hay baler, the same one feeding my cattle. Each demanded compliance within 72 hours or daily fines would start at $200. The math was clear: comply or go bankrupt. But Vivian made a mistake. She underestimated what desperation can do to a farmer. That night I buried myself in county records, state agriculture codes, every dusty law book I could find. That's when I discovered the Agricultural Protection Act. Turns out any farm established before surrounding residential development gets grandfather protection. My ranch, 1987. Her subdivision, 2019. Not only was she harassing me illegally, but deliberate interference with agricultural operations is a crime, with fines up to $10,000 and even felony charges for blocking barn access during emergencies. So that Saturday, I marched to the county courthouse and filed counter citations against the Willowbrook Estates HOA. The clerk, a tough old woman with hands that looked like they'd seen more barns than boardrooms, stamped my paperwork and winked. Monday morning, the sheriff's deputy rolled up to Vivian's mansion. I watched through my binoculars. Property surveillance is legal, by the way. As Vivian read those papers, her face going redder than her lipstick. 20 minutes later, she called me. "You think you're clever, farm boy?" she snarled. "Ma'am, I've got cows with more valuable opinions than your lawyers," I replied, grinning as I hung up. But Vivian doesn't know how to lose. That afternoon, her husband showed up at my fence. Richard Blackstone, city councilman, soft hands, suit worth more than my truck. "Jake, let's be reasonable. Vivian's just trying to maintain community standards. We can work something out." I didn't look up from my fence post. "Your wife blocked my barn during a livestock emergency. A calf died because of her games. What kind of community standard is that?" He started to push back, but Emma stepped in. "Cool as you please. Dad, should I show him the security footage from that morning?" We didn't have any, but he didn't know that. The look on his face was priceless. But as they walked away, I heard Vivian hiss, "Legal harassment didn't work. Time for more direct methods." The way her voice dropped, I felt a chill. She wasn't finished. Sure enough, the next week was a circus. Legal letters from Blackstone and Associates, 47 pages of threats demanding I remove my barn, stop all commercial ag activities, and get this, pay $25,000 in damages for diminished property values. Because apparently my cows personally tanked her mansion's price. I sat at the kitchen table, coffee cold, Emma's breakfast untouched, wondering how I was supposed to fight this. Legal fees alone would do what cancer bills started. That's when Grandpa's voice echoed in my head. "When you can't fight fair, fight smart." I drove to the county extension office, that place smelling like desperation and burnt coffee, and found Tom Bradley, the agent who still remembered his job, was helping farmers, not pushing paperwork. "Let me guess." Tom said, "Rich folks moved in, hate farm smells, now trying to lawyer you out." "Bingo," I replied. Tom grinned. "You just made my year. There's an agricultural defense fund. State covers legal fees for farmers facing this crap." He handed me a card. "Maria Santos, agricultural rights attorney." Maria was the real deal, jeans, boots, hands like she could build a fence with you and then win a court case before lunch. She flipped through Vivian's legal threats like they were grocery flyers. "They're betting you don't know your rights," she said. "Here's the play. Counter-sue for harassment demand. They pay your legal fees, file a state complaint." By Friday, we filed suit. Monday, Vivian called, voice dripping venom. "You made a terrible mistake, farm boy. My husband's got connections. We can destroy you." "Ma'am, I've been destroyed before," I said. "Difference is I'm rebuilding something worth saving. You're just trying to destroy for sport." But she wasn't bluffing. By Wednesday, my irrigation lines were cut, sabotage designed to look like equipment failure. Thursday, the county health inspector showed up citing anonymous complaints. Friday, Child Protective Services came by, traumatizing Emma with questions about whether her dad made her feel safe on the farm. It was psychological warfare, systematic and relentless. Until Emma, sharp as ever, said over dinner, "Dad, that lady's been taking pictures every morning, different spot each time. Surveillance, intelligence gathering." Vivian was trying to document every little thing to bury me in complaints. So surveillance became a two-way street. Friday, I stood with my binoculars and watched as she trespassed, camera in hand, clicking away. This time I was ready, phone out, documenting her every move. Saturday, I found my cattle gate off its hinges, designer boot prints in the mud. I took pictures of everything, called Maria. "Now it's criminal," she said. Time to catch her red-handed. Install cameras, make them visible, but not too obvious. That weekend, with the help of neighbors, I installed cameras everywhere. That evening, Emma said Dad, Mrs. Blackstone met with some big guy in a pickup, kept pointing at our barn. Something's up. She mentioned Monday morning and making sure you're not around. Monday was my regular supply run and vet appointment, a schedule anyone watching could learn. Sunday night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound set me on edge. But then at 2 a.m., Emma burst in excited. She'd been digging through the County Historical Society archives for a school project and found old paperwork, Morrison Farm Emergency Access Routes 1952. In there, clear as day, a federal easement for agricultural emergency access. Blocking it, violation of federal law, immediate vehicle impoundment, fines up to $10,000. Our barn doors sat right on that easement. Every time Vivian parked there, she was breaking federal law. Maria nearly cheered when I read her the ordinance. She's done Jake. This trumps everything. But Emma kept digging, cross-referencing records. Turns out Vivian's mansion was mortgaged to the hilt, one big judgment, and she'd lose everything. Now all I had to do was let Vivian keep doing what she'd always done. Park illegally, document it, and let the law do the rest. It was like watching someone lay the bricks for their own downfall, one act of arrogance at a time. By Thursday, every neighbor, every farmer within 10 miles knew what was about to happen. The rural grapevine works fast when someone tries to mess with one of their own. Friday night, I barely slept. Saturday at dawn, Emma handed me coffee, her face set. She parks the same way every morning, Dad. Same spot, same angle. Let's end this. At 7 a.m., Vivian pulled up, parked sideways, and stood there waiting, coffee in hand, smirk back in place. Enjoy your final morning, farm boy. After today, this gets resolved permanently. Her arrogance was almost artful. I called the sheriff, reporting a vehicle illegally blocking federal agricultural easement during an emergency. We'll be there in 30 minutes, Mr. Morrison. Next, I called Doc Martinez. That calf's in trouble again, Doc. Need you for an emergency. He was on his way. By the time the deputy arrived, followed by Doc, every neighbor who could get there had showed up to watch. Deputy Martinez, body cam rolling, announced, Mr. Morrison, you have authority to clear obstructions using appropriate agricultural equipment. The owner has refused to move. I gave Vivian one last chance, ma'am. I'm asking you to move your car for emergency veterinary care. She spat back. Go to hell, farm boy. I'm not moving for you or your smelly animals. Every word recorded. I climbed into my John Deere, fired it up, and slow as molasses rolled that 20-ton tractor forward. The blade touched her Bentley with a metallic groan that must have sounded like justice to everyone watching. Stop? You're damaging my car, she screamed, but Deputy Martinez just shook his head. Ma'am, your insurance excludes vehicles damaged while illegally blocking agricultural operations. Every inch the tractor pushed, the crowd cheered. When I'd cleared just enough space, Doc Martinez rolled his truck and lights flashing. Vivian, red-faced and hysterical, shrieked for someone to arrest me. Deputy Martinez calmly replied, Mr. Morrison acted within federal law. You, however, are facing criminal trespassing charges. She drove away, Bentley battered engines squealing the sound of karma with a German accent. The crowd applauded. Tom Bradley grinned at my side. Jake, that was beautiful. Farming accidents happen especially when people park where they shouldn't. Within 2 days, Vivian's insurance denied her claim. $53,000 in damages out of her pocket. They listed their mansion at a loss, desperate to sell. Her development plan? Dead. The county strengthened ag protection laws so this would never happen again. The video went viral the day a farmer taught a Bentley the law. Emma started justice tours, showing city folks how real ag law works, using the proceeds to set up a scholarship in Sarah's name. Even the new family who bought Vivian's place came by with cookies, asked to pet the calves, and joined the good neighbor policy. Turns out some people really do want to live in the country for what it is, not just how it looks on a postcard. A year later, Emma gave her valedictorian speech on the importance of agricultural heritage, heading off to law school to protect folks like us. That evening she asked, "Do you think Mom would be proud?" I looked out over our pastures, thought about Sarah's stubborn hope, and said, "Sweetheart, your mom would be proud. We never let bullies decide what happens to this land." Here's what I learned the hard way. People like Vivian, they bank on you being too tired, too broke, too worn down to fight back. But sometimes all it takes is a dusty old law, a determined daughter, and a community that remembers what matters to turn the tables. In the end, justice isn't about who's got the fanciest car or the biggest house, it's about standing your ground when it counts. So let me ask you, have you ever dealt with someone who thought their money or connections made them untouchable? What happened when they finally ran up against a line they couldn't cross? Drop your story in the comments. Hit like if you think sometimes the good guys deserve to win out loud. And if you've got your own story of fighting back, I want to hear it because there are more Jake Morrisons out there than you think. And sometimes karma comes with a John Deere badge.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.